Hi, my name is Daniel, and in this video I'd like to answer the question about whether you should stop working to focus on your recovery or not. And it makes sense that when you're working and you come home exhausted, you lie down on the couch, and then the next morning you need to work again, and there is no time for your recovery. So you're sort of stalling, you're sort of making it through the day, and you're just completely exhausted. And the weekends you need to recharge yourself, but you're hardly recharged. Then on Monday, when the week starts again, you hardly feel rested. So then it's logical to think that you should stop working, right? To focus on your recovery. But how do you focus on your recovery? That's the main question. Because when I did this, when I stopped working around 8 years ago, I had a lot of time available to focus on my symptoms, to focus on my struggle, to do symptom management, and to screw up my sleep rhythm because I had no reason anymore to wake up in the morning. And it didn't last long before I was much, much worse. So only within 1 month, I declined so much faster than in those previous 11 months that I still managed to work. So obviously for me to stop working was a terrible decision, because I was focusing on my symptoms all the time and I had no clue about what to do to recover. Therefore, should you stop working? I think not. I think it's best to continue working. Maybe a few hours less, and that will allow you to focus on the recovery work. And what is the recovery work? I think it's just very simply said, releasing old stressors from the body. And when you go to your job, you will be triggered all the time. Maybe you have a really mean boss or really stressful clients, and you notice that after such a situation that your symptoms increase. So that already tells you something about your symptoms. And so it triggered something. It probably triggered an emotion. And the brain is protecting you from this emotion with symptoms. And on top of that, your stress levels go through the roof because you're in a state of resistance, automatic resistance against an emotion. And this is really important because now you go to your job, you still manage to wake up, plus you know exactly what is triggering you. And you probably know which emotions are being triggered. If your boss is yelling, if your client is unsatisfied, like what would that mean? What emotion could be triggered? Probably fear, right? So if it is fear that your brain is protecting you against, then all you need to do is to not be distracted by those protection mechanism symptoms and stress levels, but to dive into your fear. And then try to release it. Try to have a beautiful release. So a release is when the body starts sweating, shivering, shaking, all kinds of uncontrolled movements. And then after that, the fear or the stressor is gone. So now you are working with your triggers and your stressors to go forward. And it doesn't mean that you experience a lot of results in the short term, but in the long term, you will notice that you are experiencing results. Whereas if you would listen to the symptoms, especially the mind-body symptoms such as a crash or fatigue or chronic pain, you would automatically go to your bed. And then what? Then you're lying in your bed all the time, but you still feel terrible. So you're going to distract yourself with the mobile phone, audiobooks, podcasts, videos, films, internet, you name it. And that is going to make you extra stressed because you're doing those things from the fight or flight energy. Let's say fight. You're fighting yourself by distracting with all these things that you can do. Plus, you're distracting yourself and you're telling your brain that the symptoms are indeed very dangerous because you're fighting it. So you are in resistance to it. And maybe this happens at an unconscious level, but as a result, your brain will increase the symptoms. And that can make you become really afraid because now you have all the time in the world to focus on how you're feeling. So as a consequence, you go into a fear loop. More fear, more symptoms, more fear, more symptoms. And it doesn't last long before you're the entire day in bed, maybe the entire year or years. And then even getting up, going to the toilet is a very dangerous activity. Whereas if you would still have a job, you would still be suffering and things would still be very hard. But going to the toilet, providing food, cleaning the house, cooking, all those activities are still inside of the comfort zone. So yes, I don't recommend you to stop working. And if you have the possibility, I would recommend you to work a little bit less and use that time to find the stressors inside of your body, for example, the release program, and to release it. Because after a release of that, what has been triggered by maybe the boss or the client or the emails, your body goes into an involuntary movement, like a release. And after that, the symptoms wind down and the stress levels winds down. And that's how we recover. And not by only just one release, but by many releases. Maybe every day a release, or every 2 days, or every 3 days. And then after a release, you feel better for maybe a few days. And that's all that matters, right? Whereas if you would go to bed, nothing would trigger you, maybe. So there is no progress, there is no releases. Because maybe you need 1,000 releases, or maybe just 10. But if the releases are not done, and if the symptoms are just there to overwhelm you, then nothing is resolving itself. Then you're just stuck. You're just waiting for the moment where you can start releasing. So if you like this video and this type of content, then please subscribe to it. We got a lot of videos on the channel to shift perspective about what healing really is. And if you're still very interested as well, then go to our website. There's a lot of free information. And there is an online course where we guide you every step along the way. Thank you for watching.